All right. So we got about a minute until 2. I'm going to start right at 2 so I can get everything in. Microphone on. There we go. Hi, if you're here, could you just give me a thumbs up in the chat so I know that you can hear me okay and see me. So if you can just give me a thumbs up in the comments. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So I know that you hear me. All right, so I'm going to get started. If you don't know who I am, I'm Alison Marsh. I'm the founder of Pregnancy Pilates Impact, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And obviously, we're going to talk about perinatal mental health. So I have notes here, so I'm going to be looking down. What I want you to know, first off, is there's a lot of talk about postpartum depression. Okay, that's like a big topic. What people don't talk about is pregnancy. When you're pregnant, women still have this issue of anxiety and depression. So today's topic is addressing both pregnancy and postpartum. Now, it is more common in postpartum women to have depression and or anxiety. But what we want to be aware of is that it's not just black and white like that. It's not like they're totally fine during pregnancy and then all of a sudden they get postpartum. Sometimes that's, as we know, like every person is different, and sometimes that's the case. Other times there are going to be signs before postpartum, all right? Because circumstances can definitely play into this. So today's training, we are going to go over scope of practice. How do you talk to your clients about this and still stay within the Pilates teacher scope of practice? Number 2, how to get comfortable addressing this topic with your clients. So I did a poll, and I had about half of you say that you were comfortable and about half said they were not comfortable. So we're going to address that. We're going to address how to actually bring the topic up. So I'm going to tell you step by step when to do it during the session, what to say, all of those things. So it's easy for you. And then hopefully if we have time, we'll do, I have 4 uplifting movement elements that you can add to all of your sessions. One thing about learning how to teach pre and postnatal women is you have to practice. You absolutely have to practice. But if you don't have pre and postnatal women to practice on, just practice with your regular clients. They don't have to know that you learned what you're learning from a pre and postnatal class. So this is why this training is important. Suicide is the leading cause of death for mothers in their first year postpartum. 10% of women suffer from depression and anxiety during and after pregnancy, and 50% never get help. That's the big one here, because this wouldn't be a big deal if everybody thought that talking about mental health was as easy as talking about wanting to get flat abs in pregnancy. I mean, in the postnatal period, right? Like everybody wants to get flat abs, and that's like the highlight, right? Is like bouncing back, quote. But nobody ever says like help with depression. Like it's still considered somewhat taboo, because we have been conditioned as a society to believe that we are weak if we aren't together, if we are reaching out for help for our mental health. Somehow it's okay and totally acceptable to be working on our physical health, but if we want to work on our mental health, somehow that should already be in check. And we know that's not the case. You as a teacher know everything is connected. We know, obviously, Pilates is mind, body, spirit, but there's still so much focus on the body. And And of course, yes, we're exercising. That's what we do. We teach exercise. But if we're missing this mental health piece, you are leaving women to slip through the cracks. So, okay, so the other thing you're going to get is what I'm going through. That is going to be in the link in my bio. You don't need an email to get it. You just click on the link. It says mental health resources, and it'll show you the 2 resources that I'm sharing today. So, okay, so let's talk about scope of practice. So the Pilates Method Alliance states that Pilates teachers are to coach, provide general information, and direct clients to seek medical attention as necessary. So you can rest assured that this is staying within your scope of practice. How to do it is what I'm going to teach you today. Because what we're not doing is being the counselor, okay? Unless you are a counselor, and that's how you're marketing your services, as you're a licensed counselor. This is for Pilates teachers. We're not counseling. We are coaching and providing general information and directing clients to seek medical attention as necessary. So it is covered by the scope of practice. So let yourself breathe easy there. So now let's get comfortable with addressing mental health. So I talked a little bit about why we are not comfortable talking about mental health. One of the reasons is cultural. Okay, so in Kuwait, for example, I have a graduate Pilates teacher in Kuwait. It is taboo to talk about mental health. And so, of course, as the Pilates teacher, if this is not a widespread thing, like it's becoming in America, then that's really going to be outside the box with the comfort level of talking to your client about it. So wherever you are in the world, if you are I read also like Australia thinks it's a little bit taboo, Spain. And like I said, I'm in America, so we're getting better at it. I think having just a mental health awareness month is awesome, but we need to be having that mental health awareness every single month and every single day, actually. So, all right. So like I said before, a common reason why mental health can be taboo is a fear of appearing weak or vulnerable in front of others. And the reason it's uncomfortable, even though it may be in America more, it's becoming kind of mainstream, that doesn't mean that the beliefs that we've been ingrained or indoctrinated with are just going to go away. But isn't it more important to make sure your perinatal clients don't slip through the cracks than worrying about your discomfort? So Pregnancy Pilates Impact is the name of my education platform. The impact is an acronym, and the C stands for courage. So we teach our teachers how to develop courage in their teaching, and this is a perfect example of having that courage. If we don't build up the courage to address mental health with our clients, then we risk the most grave issues, which is suicide. There has been something in mainstream recently, January, February. There was a woman who was actually suffering psychosis, postpartum psychosis, and she took her own kids' lives and then attempted to take her own. There was another story a few years ago of a mother who was having a really hard time sleeping, and her husband was a pastor in their city. So she knew she needed help, but she didn't feel comfortable getting help in that city because people knew who she was. So she was going to drive to another city where she could get help and not be judged. Instead, she chose to drive into a shipping container, close the door, and basically poison herself with the car engine running. These are real stories. I just saw another one it was on one of these feeds just a few days ago. A famous, I don't know if famous is the right word. She's an influencer, and she was very open about her postpartum depression. She recently took her life. This is real stuff we're talking about here. So if you don't build up the courage to address this, that is the gravest result. So, and I know that you care obviously about your clients, or you wouldn't be here watching this. So with that in mind, I encourage you to build the courage, okay? So this is what you do. We're gonna get into what to do now, okay? So if you're taking notes, you can take notes. This particular piece I don't have in any document, but it's easy. You'll get it. So, all right. So you want to have the Edinburgh postpartum depression self-assessment ready to give them. Okay, that's what you will have access to. All right, from the link in my bio. No email. Just go to the mental health resources. You'll see it. There's 2 links that it says mentioned in the live training. Right there, Edinburgh postpartum depression self-assessment. What that is it's going to, you are giving this to your clients to do for themselves. It's not for them to do and then give to you. If that was the case, that might be going out of our scope of practice. So it's a self-test. You want to give it to them at the beginning of the session. This is really important because the title of this in my Instagram feed was in 5 minutes. You can take care of this topic with your clients in 5 minutes. It doesn't take very much time. So you want to do it in the beginning, so you make sure you have the time to talk to them about what it is and why you're doing it. And then you still have the time to do your regular session. If you wait until the end, you risk not only other people coming in that maybe you don't want other people to hear, you risk running out of time. So the main thing is, let's give it to them and take them through this process in the beginning of the session, okay? And ideally, I'm gonna grab my water. Ideally, you would do this at an intake. So in addition to the medical intake that you do, this would just be a part of it. So, okay, so you're gonna let them know. So this is what you would say. Let them know this is something new that you're adding to all clients' health screening, and it's just as important as their physical health. And obviously they will agree with that. Okay, you want to explain what you are giving to them. All right, so I kind of just explained it here, but this is what you can say. This is an assessment for you to take and do for yourself. You are not expected to share the results with me. What I do encourage you to do is take the assessment, and if the results show you may be struggling, there's a number to call for help. You also want to show this to your doctor or your child's pediatrician on your next visit. Now, you can also let them know you're welcome to reach out to me, the teacher, for referrals as well. So what I highly recommend is that you find preferably a handful, but at least 1 or 2 therapists, psychiatrist, or psychologist in your area that specifically works with perinatal women. Because we're not going to get into like all the causes and all of that today, but it's very different than just if, say, a man has a mental health issue or a woman who doesn't have children. has a mental health, depression, or anxiety. Okay. Okay. Now, as they're leaving, okay, when they're done with the session, remind them about the self-assessment. Just say, remember to get this, or even better is to text them. That's probably the best, is to text them like once they've left, maybe an hour later, and remind them as they're leaving about the self-assessment. Okay, and then in the next session you see them in, ask if they followed through with the assessment. All right, so you're doing all these checks. The reason this is so powerful from your perspective is, as a Pilates teacher, you are probably the only professional who's seeing them on a regular basis, if not once a week, twice a week. I mean, their doctor's visits are there's like one or two in the postpartum period. I think it's every month, or no, I think it's every month. During pregnancy, as you get closer to the due date. So you are the only one who's seeing her on a regular basis. Okay, so let's talk about the signs. All right, the signs of depression and anxiety. Okay, so women with depression or anxiety around pregnancy, so perinatal, pregnant or postpartum, they feel extremely sad or angry without warning. Okay? Let me preface this, by the way, that when a woman isn't sleeping, when anybody isn't sleeping, a lot of these symptoms can show up. So I'm sure that lack of sleep has so much to do with developing depression. Sleep is so important, and so as I go through these, you can think about the fact that as a postpartum woman, if she's not getting sleep, these are going to be the signs, and then it can turn into something that doesn't go away without help. All right, so extremely sad or angry without warning. So that's like, being triggered by something, and being out of character. If that's out of character for the woman, that she snaps at somebody or something like that. Okay, foggy or having trouble completing tasks. That's a huge one. As a Pilates teacher, actually not as a mom, but just since I was very young, I would say in my teen years, I've struggled with depression and anxiety. It started with anxiety. Depression and anxiety are caused by the same mishaps in the brain. So that's why they're always in that same bucket. And I will tell you that the foggy or having trouble completing tasks, it's a very strange feeling. And I also want to point out that the word depression doesn't always mean sad. Depression is a low state. It's like an emptiness, apathy, not caring. So it doesn't mean that the mom is just like in the corner crying all the time. That may not even be a symptom. I had a friend who dealt with it for over 6 months and was like ready to leave her husband, was just absolutely, but not sad, not crying. She just had a different personality. And finally, they realized what it was, and she got help, and she got much better. But again, the foggy or having trouble completing tasks is a big one. Okay, robotic, like they're just going through the motions. That's a huge one. Okay, like I was just saying, it's not always about being sad. Very anxious around the baby and their other children. So that could be some of the anxiety. Guilt, and like they are failing at motherhood. And then this is similar to the one I just said about being angry. Unusually irritable or angry. They also often have little interest in things they used to enjoy. And they have, this next one's very telling. scary, upsetting thoughts that don't go away. Brooke Shields, who was a famous model and actress in the late 90s, she was one of the first celebrities to come out and talk about her postpartum depression. And she shared that the thoughts that would go through her head were throwing the baby up against the wall. And she obviously knew, like, there's something wrong with that. So that's an example of scary, upsetting thoughts that don't go away. The brain just wants to take you, if you're religious at all, you can think of it as the devil. That I know a lot of Christian people can look at it like that, like the devil is like attacking you or something. And so that would be in that, bucket of religion, with the scary, upsetting thoughts that don't go away. So just know that, though, it is the brain not doing what it's supposed to do. All right. Okay. So, let's go through, what time is it? Okay, we're making good time. So the main thing I want you to remember, we're going to go through the uplifting movement elements in a moment, but is that all you have to do is have these resources ready. The Edinburgh, it's called the Edinburgh, that's the name of the research that developed it. Self-test, it's called the postpartum depression scale, but you can give it to pregnant and postpartum women, okay? And have that ready. Let them know. I will actually go ahead and add to that resource the script. So what to say, when to say it, those types of things, okay? And just, I encourage you to work up the courage, all right, to be able to do this. And I encourage you to do it with the very next pre or postnatal client that you have. So now we're going to move to the uplifting movement elements. So for this, this is going to be the second PDF besides the Edinburgh depression scale. So this is what the PDF looks like with all of the uplifting movements to teach. We're going to go through this one, but just know that there's 2 others that you can read through and practice. And I have this written out for you as well. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because of the glare. Or if you can even read my handwriting. I don't know if that's going to work because of the glare. Okay, well, either way, I'll put it in the back just so it's there behind me. All right, so the first one is opening, taking up space, okay? So this instills confidence in your client, yourself as well. I teach this in the academy where you're doing basically the star pose, and you can do this as a warm-up, just opening up, taking up space. You can also do this with the blooming flower, all right, which I've taught before. If you're familiar with my trainings, you know the blooming flower. So taking up space is what we're doing with the body, taking up space a little bit wider with the legs rather than together, opening up the chest. Okay, so as I'm going through these, think about how you can add these elements to your everyday sessions. All right, the second one is closed chain, which is solid. You want to make a solid base, okay? That is like feet and hands connected. And what this does is it provides a sense of safety for your clients. Okay, for example, if you do mat, you'll want to have the resistance band around the feet and the hands. That provides that closed chain, safe feeling. Okay, if you're on the reformer and you're doing footwork, hands connected to the bed. Make sure the hands are connected to the bed. Or sometimes I'll have moms put their hands behind them on the little pegs that hold the feet straps. Another thing you can do is have them hold a ball or a band while they're on the reformer. Okay, so anything where mom is connected, hands and feet, that helps to provide a safe feeling. All right. So number 3 is rhythmic, percussive, or sponge. I don't know if you can see that here. Here. So this stimulates the vagus nerve, which there's 2, which we know has so much to do. The health of the vagus nerves have so much to do with mental health. So this is how we do it. We're talking about percussive and sponge breath. So percussive would be like that would be a percussive breath. Okay, where you're inhaling twice, exhale, inhale, exhale. Sponge breath is where you're exhaling so quickly that you automatically take air back in. All right, so you're so that exhale, 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 stimulating. It's also really good for, well, the diaphragm is connected through the vagus nerve, so that's why that's also helpful. Okay, also rhythmic movement. So any kind of rhythmic movement in your when you're teaching sessions, if you have a nice flow where you can keep your client going, even just one exercise where you explain how you're going to do it, how it's going to flow, and you take them through that, all is incredibly helpful to uplift mom and help her to begin to feel, or at least feel while she's in your class, to feel good. All right, and then the 4th is variety. Make it fascially fun, right here. And this one, variety, make it fun. Okay, so instead of just always doing the same thing, add something fun to the sessions. For example, so I've given there's a reel where I show blowing up a balloon as a breathing exercise and specifically to strengthen the core. What you can do is do that breathing exercise. So basically you're just taking an inhale, you have the balloon, you exhale, make sure she's exhaling lower abs, middle abs, upper abs, exhale, tie the balloon. Then you can play the toss and catch with it, or like the keeping it in the air. That would be an example of variety, making it fun, fascially fun. Anytime you add a change of direction, slight changes of direction, add something to the body instead of just linear movement, is going to be incredibly uplifting, stimulating for the body, for the mind. Crossing the body. Okay, so this is still in variety. So for example, the saw. Anytime you cross over, okay, that also helps to restore a feeling of safety. So the saw is one of those. Another one is, if you can think of when we're doing on the mat the single leg stretch. That's a good example of crossing the body. So again, just being creative. Don't be afraid to be creative in your teaching. It's incredibly amazing for clients. While you're giving, that's great when we go through the foundations. It's really important. Once they have those foundations, start to change it up a little bit. That helps them with their focus as well. All right, and then another just tip for teaching pre and postnatal women is end your sessions standing. All right, this helps to give them a grounded feeling at the end of the session, ready to go out into the world and take on their responsibilities. It acts as that opening, taking up space, and then you can send her off into the rest of her days until you see her again with confidence and vitality. So now it is your turn. Okay, anytime you learn something, I encourage you to take at least one thing you learned and apply it right away. That's the only way anything that you learn can be retained. You have to practice. So go to the mental health resource in the link in my bio. So the Pregnancy Pilates Impact, but the link is Linktree. So it's linktr.ee / it's my name, AlisonB.Marsh, ALISONB.MARSH. But again, you can go right to it from the link in my bio. The mental health resources, and then it'll show you the two links, Edinburgh postpartum depression scale, and I think it says antidepressant Pilates. So those are the two resources. That second one is this one here. All right, so you can print that out, go through them. It gives you your turn exercises as well to remember, so you can remember these. All right, again, practice. So the next pre or postnatal client you see, give them the Edinburgh Depression Self-Test and pick one of these, okay, to incorporate into your sessions. So like I taught you 4 today, just pick one out of them, all right? And start practicing now. Again, your client does not have to be pre or postnatal for you to practice pre or postnatal exercises, all right? They don't have to know that you learned what you're teaching them in a pre or postnatal training. So one last thing, consider what you can do in your community to bring more awareness to perinatal mental health. Again, you have so much power in your ability to help this special population with mental health specifically. I hope that this training has helped to at least give you a background, somewhat of a foundation of where to start in helping women with who may be struggling with pre or postnatal depression. And what's really important to remember is so many women will put on a happy face, a face that they're okay. And again, that comes from our indoctrination that we are supposed to be strong and not need help. And we all know that everybody needs help, okay? And especially pre and postnatal women, especially postnatal women. So I want to thank Postpartum Support International this is a great resource, okay, to go that for all things postpartum depression, anxiety, support, things like that, okay? Again, that's Postpartum Support International. And then another resource is 2020 Mom. That covers both pregnancy and postpartum. I'm sure Postpartum Support International covers pregnancy too, but they are, Postpartum Support International has a number that your clients can call. That's the number that's going to be on the Edinburgh self-check, and you can check it out, see what they'll be getting when they call. And for you as a Pilates teacher, if you feel like you're struggling with depression, again, know the signs, okay? If things all of a sudden you're just not yourself, that it's harder to concentrate, that you're just going through the motions like robotic movements. Robotic meaning like there's no feeling in what you're doing. Remember that depression doesn't necessarily mean sadness. It means, can mean apathy. And just know that as a teacher as well, this doesn't have to be just about pre and postnatal women. Obviously, you need to be checking up on your mental health as well. So take the advice I've given here for yourself as well. And thank you for your dedication to pre and postnatal women. And I will see you next time.